That's Bruno, his job to look after the matches. When the old wheelwright who was alongside the market in Salisbury retired at the age of 91, he sent all his tools to the Salisbury Museum, but he gave me all his old catalogues that had been in the family for ages, and of course we looked through them in order to try and find out what sort of a cover we should put on the cart we were building to be pulled by the horse Blue on our 18th century journey along the old highways. Fascinating things. There's a cart that was made for African explorers. That's tempting, but of course in a small sized cart the bow top would be very uncomfortable. That is a nice one, but that's not the shape of cart body that would be correct for what we're doing. And we finally settled on this, which was the cover of an ambulance made way back in the Victorian times for the first regiments of the militia, what they used to call the landowners' private army. So that was all right. That's how we would settle on covering it. The most important thing was the wheels. I had earlier discovered some drawings of the wheels and axle of a Romano-British chariot with the dimensions. And I looked at them and there seemed to be something familiar about them. And I discovered to my astonishment that they were almost identical to the wheels and axle of the traveller's cart that is still today made by some gypsy wheelwrights. The wheelbase was exactly the same. It must have been gauged originally to the two tracks along a Roman road, and otherwise it was exactly the same. And I thought, well, if that thing has lasted that long, travelling the rough highways from the time of the Romano-British, who after all taught the Romans about the chariot, right up to the travellers of today, that's got to be the right one. We must try and find some. And then what we would do is to build it very much along the lines of the present gypsy flat cart, with these wheels of that sort, a single horse, and we would build our tilt like that. So we scribbled away at one or two drawings, trying to decide how to do it. Not a frightfully good draftsman, but I was capable of showing what I thought I'd discovered about it, and thus the back, the big boxed axle which they always have, some sort of strengthening for the tilt at the top. Would you get in and out it at the back like a gypsy caravan, or would you put it at the front? How would we cover it up at night so that you could sleep in? Checking back all the historical stuff, but above all searching for a pair of the wheels in question. What we wanted to find was a pair of wheels from the traveller's tilt cart, exactly of the sort which I had discovered ran back in tradition to the earliest part of our road history. And it happened that in the winter John Pickett found a pair. He also found the axle and the springs. The unfortunate young man there is taking the rust off the springs, and he's got to do it outside, a bit hard on him in the snow, but we can't have all that sort of sparks flying through the workshop. The fascinating things about these wheels is the weight of them. Quite obviously, to give you a stable cart, you want some weight below, particularly if you're going to put a tilt on top. And these, which are made immensely hard, heavy wood, and are almost identical chariot wheels, do in fact weigh half a hundredweight each. Now, having got as much weight as you can on the bottom and the wheels and springs in order to give you stability, you want as little weight as you want on top of it. And of course that is the tradition of all this decoration that goes into travellers' carts. John is one of the probably three, and I sometimes think only two people in England who still knows how to build carts in this tradition. And you can see that beautiful axle box is already made, through which the axle passes to hold the wheels. And these, which hold the springs and the springs. And you'll see that at every point that they appear to have been decorated. They are decorated, but what in fact is that they're lightened. Because if you have a girder of a given dimension, you can make that girder as a lattice girder, and as long as you keep the dimensions, you can reduce the weight of it enormously without altering the strength. And that is the origin of absolutely all this decoration that goes into these works, and the shafts too. Pieces of straight ash which have been made to the right dimensions and curve. What you do is you stick them in a long iron drain pipe, and you have a boiling can of water at the bottom which goes on for about hours, and then when they're absolutely soft, the hard ash, you clamp them up to the curves you want. And once again, you see, he's getting ready to decorate. This is called butterfly chamfer. You find it around the edges of almost all the points in a traveller's cart. But the reason for it, although it looks frightfully pretty, is that it takes out weight but leaves all the dimensions fixed at continuous points along the thing in question. Now these are the sides we've put on it, which we hope will take the tilt satisfactorily. You see the butterfly chamfer has already been done along the edge there. And once again, you see the sides are made of solid hardwood, but then the whole inside of them is cut out, and just a panel is put in. So we've got dimensions, but we don't have full thickness all the way. This is going to be a piece of pure carving, not for any engineering reasons. This is going to be a monogram JH, which I thought I'd allow myself on the side of the cart. Now all the time that John was working on that, and it was a long time, we started way back in the winter in order to have this ready for the journey in the high summer, we needed the work of a blacksmith too. Always, in the old days, the blacksmith and the cart builder lived side by side, and the blacksmith could make the stuff and could walk across and try it for size. There are many cases where the blacksmith and the cart builder were in the same family. I knew two gypsy brothers who did these two jobs and travelled together. Well, close to where John lives Mr. Parks, and Mr. Parks is another man who understands this tradition, the actual tradition of the old cart iron work. And it's marvellous to watch him, as it is to watch any blacksmith. As every country boy knows in the old days, the most fascinating thing to do all day long, if you've got nothing to do, is to stand in the door of the blacksmith shop. Because not only is it always very warm in any weather, but to watch him do this oldest of all the crafts, and to take a thing like iron and make it behave like butter, to heat it exactly the right amount, watch the colour of the red until it's exactly anything it wants, from lemon to cherry, according to what he's doing, put it back in the fire just when it needs a little more heat, and then curve it and make it behave exactly as you like. What he's doing there is making one of the curled scroll irons that are going on the back of this cart. There's two things that you rest the back of the cart on when you tip it up at night. Put it away with its shafts in the air. And as I say, he can, if he likes, he can just get off the forge and run round to John's shop and try it on the cart as we build it. A lot of complicated ironwork on the cart, all of it traditional, all of it having a specific purpose, but he seems to make it come out of the iron with almost no trouble. You see, this is just a bar of 1-inch iron. The first of all he does is to put a sort of acorn head on the front of it. You're like somebody working with plasticine. And then he just flattens that so it becomes a pointed head. And this is a swingle tree. This is the thing that goes on the front of the cart, which will be boxed with carved wood, just like the axle is, onto which you put the chains of the traces with which the horse pulls it. And that means it's got to have a twisted hook on the end, and that twisted hook in itself has got to have a turn out of the straight in order the chains will drop it on it easily, one of those at each end. Now, just to see this come into existence. See? And a little tap to the right, and there it is. And already, you see, one of those at each end. Beautiful. And the other one's done in another minute. So at the time we finished the cart, he would have finished the ironwork that's got to be screwed into the cart. And then, of course, you've got to keep it clean. When I was young, we used to do it with this, which is a piece of chain mail on a piece of leather. It's been used ever since the days of armour. They used to take a piece of chain mail like that and rub the armour bright with it. When I was young, we had them for rubbing the chains of the wagon horses and keeping them bright. But we should cheat on that. What we'll do is I'll take the whole of that ironwood off when Mr. Parks has finished it, and I'll have the whole lot plated, and we'll really make it shine. Cheerio.